Hey folks, Lisa here from Call That Girl with another video of the day, and today's video is going to be a long one. I'm doing a full tutorial on how to import your PST files into your new Outlook. And I know that might sound strange because you cannot do that, but I'm going to show you how to do it in the old Outlook so you can use the new Outlook. And there's a lot of limitations to the new Outlook, as I mentioned in my part one video. So today we're going to get right to it here. I'm not getting on camera. And I actually created you folks a little to-do list over here of things you have to do. You can see my pink pointer here. I made this in a Word doc so you could take a screenshot of it if you wanted it for your phone. And then I'm also going to put all these notes in the description of the video so you know how to do this yourself. This is going to be a lot of work for some people to understand. So if you don't know how to do it or need help, you can reach out to me. My email is lisa@callthatgirl.biz and my phone number is 612-865-4475. Keep in mind when you do these that there's a lot of steps you have to take to do it correctly, and that's why I'm an expert in PST repair and everything else, because a lot of folks don't understand how the PST works. I do, so that's why I'm going to guide you through this really slow, and then maybe you can do it yourself. So before I begin, go ahead and take a screenshot of that if you like. Then I'm going to move it to another screen and get started. All right, so I'm going to be using my Outlook profile as an example for this video, and I will give you a little tour of it, and then we'll talk about the steps. So up here is my Microsoft Exchange account, and down here are 3 PST files, and then I have another Gmail account added, which remember, in classic Outlook, the Gmail does not synchronize contacts and calendars natively, but it will in the new Outlook, which is kind of a bonus for you folks. CTG Lisa, this is my test account for Outlook. This one's an Exchange account with Microsoft that's free. So this is also an option for an account you can import PSTs into. And we'll talk about that in the list to make sure you don't go over the size allowed. And here's my personal Hotmail. And same thing, each one of these accounts has its own limit of mailbox space. And then here's my online archive. And this is where some of the email from a PST file will most likely go into. And you need to know that because that is also a folder in the new Outlook. All right, so we're going to come up to File up here. And we're going to give you a little tour of how the accounts work so you can see. So here's my Microsoft Exchange. And I have a 50 gig mailbox. So this is the limit of what I pay for. Some of you are going to need to buy what's called an expanded mailbox or Exchange Plan 2. That gives you 100 gigs. You need to know this before you start importing PSTs, okay? Because this is definitely going to stop and be a break stop for you, because if you don't have enough space, you cannot do what we're going to be doing. And I'm going to hit on the other accounts now. You can only do the other, Microsoft accounts up here to see the size. My Hotmail has 15 gigs and my other Microsoft account has also 15 gigs. So, I mean, if you were going to be trying to mix and match a little bit and move these within accounts, you could certainly do that. It gets a little confusing, but some of you might have to do that if you're not on a Business 365 account. Now up here, we're going to go to account settings and click there. And over here is where the data files host the PSTs that you have open in Outlook in the current profile. You can see here's that 22, 23, and 24. They're right over here. And this is where they are nested right now. And you can see mine are in the documents folder, which with Outlook, you should have them in the documents. That's the default location. It was prior to OneDrive taking over. So if they're in OneDrive, take a note of that because you won't be able to do this next step yet, okay? We'll cover that later. But then you can see my Exchange accounts and the IMAP also have OST files. And those are just offline storage. And those, you cannot import and export at all. So don't even, look at that as an option. But these 3 here, we're going to, and then we're going to hit Open File Location. All right, so when I click that button, this is what shows up is my stack of PSTs here in my PST location, which is the Outlook files folder of the documents. PSTs should be stored there for best use. If there's an orange dot, that means Outlook is open, okay? Because I'm using Carbonite. So you definitely want to close your Outlook and wait till they're all solid green before you do any work. That's just a little tech note because if you try doing work in a PST that's open in Outlook, it might not work. So now we can look and see the size of all of these, okay? So here's my 2024 one. And if you look over here, it's only 66K, which is not very large. I've been keeping most of my email on the server this year because of the pending new Outlook, and I didn't want to. But typically, I do move emails off my server and keep the server thinner, and I store them all here, and you can see they all have size, okay? I used to call things stuff and stuff too back in the day. So this has many years of data, probably going back to 2013. So that was a little bit heavier, but each year we have more email because we're all busier and the attachments are larger. So you might see that they stack up if you're organizing it by year. And you can see down here, I took a few years of, I did name the years there, okay? A lot of clients like that, but we're going to be talking about that when we import. So anyway, you kind of want to do the math. I mentioned that I have an Exchange server that has 50 gigs. So at this point, I would have, enough here to probably take on a few of these. And that's all my server would be able to hold, okay? If you need more space, you have to go purchase it through Microsoft or your vendor or MSP, get more space, and then you can move on with this part of the project. So it looks like I have about 82 gigs total. So this is going to take me a long time to import that all through Outlook. And I also do need to buy the expanded mailbox, which I will do in another video to show you how that works. But it is time for me to do it because when the new Outlook comes, I will not be able to open any of these files. As far as they are saying now, they might change that in time. But for right now, these I won't be able to open at all, and I won't be able to access them. So if I want them, I have to put them in the cloud. So at this point, we kind of figured all this out. And again, I'm going to stress how important it is that you have a backup of all of these files, because if something bad happens to the file and it gets corrupted, then you can come and restore one of the versions that you had from prior to this, which PSTs can break and they can have problems. So I have Carbonite, you can see with the little green dots. Sometimes you can just right click and just verify that the Carbonite's been backed up recently. So you just feel a little safer before you get moving ahead. Okay, so I'm not covering everything from that list in this order, but either way, it's stuff you still need to do. Doesn't matter what order it's in. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the IMAP for folks moving their PST data to an IMAP account. This can be really confusing and it can take a lot longer than going to Exchange. So I want to explain why here in a minute. So I'm going to come back to the Outlook data files area. And these down here are the OST files, okay? So each IMAP server mailbox has different space allotments. You might be with one company that offers you 2 gigs, which means they're kind of on an older, mailbox at that point if they're only giving you 2 gigs or that's all they allow. Other ones have kind of maybe unlimited space. They don't care what you use. Gmail, for example, does have unlimited, but Outlook has limits of 50 gigs. So what you might want to just do is come over here and to one of these and open file again. And now we're going to be in the back end of Outlook where it hosts all the OST files. And you can see that there's a stack of stuff down here, okay? This is me having all my years of Outlook profiles and me doing testing work and things like that. You should not have all of these and you don't need to worry about it, okay? But I'm going to show you up here. This is what you need to worry about is these current ones up here by the date modified and the size. So this OST file, this is for my Exchange. I'm using 2.5 gigs of server space, but my Gmail here is showing 4.3 gigs. This is important to know. Remember, Gmail has unlimited in the cloud. Outlook has limits. So if I wanted to import all 82 of these gigs from my PST to this Gmail account, it would not do it in one shot. This is something you have to really go slow with to migrate the data because Gmail would hold it. And the new Outlook would probably hold it too because there's no local files to stop it from doing as many emails as you have. But I've yet to test that theory, so let's not push that yet. One day I'll have a client that does, and I will figure it out. But we're all in this new exploratory time of new Outlook, so it's hard to say. We won't know till it happens. Okay, and the final thing you want to do with your Exchange accounts is come back over to this email tab and just click on the account and give it a double click. And now you're going to see over here email that's downloaded from the past. So what Microsoft did with in the recent years is they started changing how much you could download from your server to make Outlook run a little more faster and efficient. And a lot of people don't need to necessarily have all their email downloaded from the past, forever. So over here, there's an option. It's 1 year. That's why a lot of folks are like, well, when I search, I can't find it. And, when it comes down to that is that you have to get it from the server in your search because only 1 year is downloaded. For this project, you do not need to change this slider to all the mail because when you import email, it still goes through Outlook to the cloud and it doesn't change the amount that's downloaded here. It's kind of cool. And I like doing mass amounts of email this way because it doesn't blow up the hard drive space and cause problems. Okay, so that kind of concludes all of that. And now we're going to move into the importing part. I opened up this PST from 2022 to show you how I see a lot of my clients organize their PST files. And there's no right or wrong to it. It's your data. You can do what you like, but I'm going to give you some tips on how to make it a little easier on yourself because there's some folder structures that aren't easy to import into Exchange through the typical import-export wizard. And at this point, you're going to want to do it manually, which is sometimes better. So you can manage the data flow a little bit easier. Sometimes when you have a really large PST file, I'm talking large, 20, 30 gigs, that can really take up a lot of time, slow everything down. And you might want to do it in a little slower basis just to make it easier. And I'll cover that right now in this part of the video. All right, so you can see I have some symbols up here for the folders. These I tend to make sure that they stay at the top because they were important at the time. And you can see down here that everything is alphabetical and, there's no inbox or anything. This is just a PST I created, not from a POP account. So everything's alphabetical here. Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Well, a lot of folks don't have subfolders because they just do it this way. Or within their PST file, they had an inbox with subfolders. Then they had folders outside the inbox. What you want to do is, this is only if you have a backup, so you can spend a little time in putting these underneath. See here? You can do a sub little folder of one, and yes, you want to move them all. Start moving all these folders into a top tier folder. See up here? Because when we do copy and pasting, if we're going to do it, there's two ways to do imports. This makes it easier because you can just right click one and copy a folder and it gets everything underneath. Otherwise, you just have to do it one by one. And let me just tell you, this is a lot of work for some people who have hundreds of files or hundreds of folders rather. So what you just want to do is just, make it quicker and just do this here. It's a little annoying with that yes button, but I've got it down to where I just hit it with my keyboard and clean it all up, make it a lot more tidier. And you can see over here that this is going to save us a lot of time in the future. And this is also something you might want to think about doing prior to you doing this project, because again, once you finally start doing this, it's going to be a little bit of work managing all your data. So for you folks who want to maybe reorganize all your data and delete stuff that you are like, it's totally done with, I'll never need it again, this is a perfect time to do some house cleaning. Clean up those PSTs because space costs you money now in the new Outlook. So you need all that space, save it for all the good stuff. Okay, so once you do some tidying up over here on the PST, you can come over to your deleted items, maybe delete those. You can see it's all my clutter and all this junk, bad emails. Down here at the bottom, it shows 52,000 emails, which is a lot. And if I really don't care, now is the time to delete those, okay? Empty that trash, get gone, get it all out of there. It's definitely not, data you want to pay for in the future. Okay, so now I'm going to continue on here, and this is the manual method. By the way, I didn't mention that in the beginning. This is where you're managing the data yourself and just, taking care of it, doing the house cleaning and things like that. All right, so now you want to come up to your mailbox with Exchange at the top here, and you can see that I've got nested subfolders for the inbox, which is how I prefer to do my email management. Then I've got deleted items, which has folders in it as well. So this is kind of really clean. You can come up here. This is one option, is make a new folder. You can call it old PST. So now when you make it, it comes alphabetical and it's down here now, nested outside of my typical folders. This is what I kind of like. A lot of my clients also use the Z, at Z or Z, because it's at the bottom of the alphabet. They want it at the very bottom hidden. So if you want that too, you can just make a new folder called Z PST. And then that is at the very bottom hidden, so you won't really ever need to look at it. And my theory here on the manual way is we're going to be nesting data underneath that. Okay. So I'm going to come down here to this workshops one, and I'm going to right click, and I always copy, never move, because it's always measure twice, cut once in my world. I always verify I have a backup, and then I always copy, because if something bad happens, which I've seen it many times over, the data goes missing, and then you have missing files and you don't know what's going on. I always hit copy, and then you can come up here to your Exchange in Outlook directly and come to old PST and hit OK. Now this here, because we're doing it manual, I'll show you how to watch for when it's done copying, but you got to kind of be a little careful here, because you're going to see it spinning now and doing a bunch of stuff. You definitely, now you're going to get this error, cannot move or copy. That's pretty typical, but it does still work. Hit OK. And now down here in the lower area, you can see updating Lisa, call that girl. My server is updating all that copied information. You know, it's copying it up to the cloud, and that's what it's going to do. I'm going to take the mouse and come back over here now, okay? You can see that workshops is now copied. I always come in here and verify, make sure everything looks good, okay? And then what we're going to do is sit and wait. And then when this is done updating, you can come do another set of folders. Now, can you do many at once? Yes, but I just tried to go slow with it. That's why I say put more into one set of folders than to do many of the main folders. It just is a little bit easier, because now you know that that's going to update for a while. The files that are updating to the cloud have to first get all the way up to the cloud and then come back down into the Outlook through the, through the search. All right, so when this is done over here, we're going to take on another folder, but that's kind of how it works here. And if you keep doing more and more, which you can do, like I said, I'm going to do another one here just to show you. Copy the file, come back up to old PST, click there and hit OK. Then that's going to do another group and hit OK. Now, when this is done, you can go ahead and go to your online server and go see if all the data is up there. And if you also are really, really worried, you can also do folder count. You know, a lot of people like doing that. They see how many unreads and they see how many items are in there. Then when it's all done, you go make sure that that same amount is on the new Exchange server folder that you made. And that's just a way to verify. And that's what I do when people hire me, is I take a lot of notes to make sure everything's perfect, because data can go missing and data can have problems. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to show you another way to do it if you really don't care about, the size of the Exchange server going over because your PSTs are too small and you just are like, you know what, I want it all up there, Lisa, in one shot. So here we're going to come down to 2022 and we are going to close it. Okay. And hopefully it'll close. I was just copying that file. It did. Remember, this is when you go too fast, things sometimes glitch, and that could have glitched for me. But the data was already, out of the copying stage, so it's fine. Oops. Okay. So now we're going to import that 2022 into my Exchange. Now, the thing is, when you do imports, the data is going to go wherever it wants, okay? Sometimes it doesn't follow the same place it was in the PST file. So we're going to come up to File, Open and Export, Import Export, and then we're going to import from another file. Hit Next. We're going to grab the PST here, hit next, and then we're going to browse. And now you can see it opened up the default location, which for you might be OneDrive. And I will add that here at the end if you have files in OneDrive, okay? Because OneDrive is not the best place to be doing data organization with these PST files. But click on 2022. Now this is a 10 gig file. So unlike what we were doing before, the manual folder move, which has smaller amounts of data in it, way smaller, this one here is an all-in-one, 10 gigs. So you got to be careful when you do this. We'll go ahead and hit open. And then we're going to allow duplicates because we don't know what's going on. And hit next. And now, see over here? Select the folder to import from. This one, we're going to put it into my Exchange. Now, this is where I tell people there's no going back, okay? Once this starts, it's a process and it just has to keep going. Couple tips for you after you do this. Number one, don't touch the mouse. Don't do anything with Outlook, okay? Number two is if you see things spinning and they're white and the screen doesn't look normal, don't touch the mouse. Do not try to fix anything. It's a big process when you're importing a big file, okay? And Outlook kind of has its own little like, I don't know, it just kind of freaks out for a while because it's busy doing a heavy data, work right now. And so just leave it alone and go do something else and then come back, especially if it's a large PST file, okay? When this is done, I'm going to talk about your aftercare steps because there are some that you have to do. Now, I'm going to hit finish here and then I'm going to stop it real quick because I don't really want it to happen, but you can hit finish and you can see it doesn't look like it's doing anything, right? The mouse is not appearing, but there we go. It's white spinning. It goes unresponsive for a minute, and now it's importing. So this is the screen I'm talking about, that you're going to see these files and folders. If you see nothing moving and it's frozen, just leave it, okay? Do not do anything because literally it is still doing stuff in the back. It's probably stuck on a big file. And even if it sits for an hour, just leave it because sometimes it's still doing the whole thing in the background, but it's frozen. And I've seen that before too. I'm going to take a little break here and I'll come back when this is done and show you how we finish up. All right, folks, so that import took maybe around an hour, a little bit less for 10 gigs. So just remember if you have a higher amount in the PST file, it's going to take longer to import. But now you can see my Exchange mailbox has all these sorted folders everywhere, okay? They came in just the random order that the PST had it, so it might mess up your current Exchange. But just keep in mind that once they're all updated, you can rearrange the folders as you like at that point. Now take a look down here. It says updating, okay? It's going to be updating for quite a while because that's a lot of data you're taking to the cloud. So a couple things you're going to want to do is number one is turn off your sleep mode on your computer. Don't turn off your computer tonight and don't let it go to sleep mode, okay? And then you're going to want to keep Outlook open all day, all night, because there's two reasons. One is the upload takes a long time and then the search indexing takes a while, okay? The search indexing is always broken when you import that much data, and by morning it should be okay. You can tell by going up to your search and coming over to search tools, indexing status. Oop, it went to another window. So over here you can see I got 12,000 items remaining because I uploaded a lot of data. It's recycling in the indexing. But once it's all done, it should say 0. Now, as a final tip for you folks that have OneDrive with your Outlook PST folders, it is so not recommended to keep them in there if you're going to be using them within Outlook. So just a tip for you is to close your Outlook and then you can copy the PST to the documents on your C drive and then do the work. PSTs are not meant to be in OneDrive, and I don't know why Microsoft allows that, but they do, and they break all the time. So I just recommend you make a copy of it. I'm just going to do it right here. And, oh, I can't make a copy. Well, that might happen to you too, because it's in the OneDrive, and my OneDrive is not connected right now. So let's try it again. There we go. Sometimes you got to do it twice. I've done that before. And hit copy, and then you can go over to your C drive And let's see, come into your local documents. I'm not going to click this because it has all my data, but you would put it in the Outlook files folder. That's in that folder there. All right, folks, so that kind of is what we've done with the importing. And then when this is all done, I'm going to not see this updating anymore. And then you can check your file over here. Your server size is starting to change. You're going to see that with this amount I had, it's going to have an extra 10 gigs. So should be around the 38 mark over here. So when we're done, and I will be checking on that here when I'm done with all of this to finish up the video. All right, folks, so I did take a pause in the video, which you, of course, did not see for 2.5 days or so, because I had to let the data that I imported into Exchange upload to the cloud through Outlook, and 10 gigs is a lot to upload. I did leave my computer on for those 3 days, and I left Outlook open. So just to let you know that the higher the size of the PST is, the longer it'll take to get to the internet. Now you can see down here with the pink pointer, all folders up to date. While it's updating, it's going to say updating. And if it doesn't, just refresh Outlook, close it maybe and relaunch it because it still has a ways to go. But down here, it's all done. And then up here in the file, office account, excuse me, right here, mailbox settings, you can see that I have the new 10 gigs, and it didn't quite be 10 gigs. It brought about 8 gigs, I think. So either way, that's fine. It's completed by now. But that'll tell you how much you have left in your mailbox. Okay, so now we're going to come back to here. Now, these folders you can see were not in my original Exchange mailbox before. These all came from the import, and they do come in any random order that they want. Okay, so if you have it set up on 2 different computers, you're going to see different folders. I don't recommend you organize until it's all done, but sometimes you have to come up to the folder view here and hit show A to Z. And now it'll be alphabetical, a little bit easier for you to organize. So I recommend organizing after you've done the PST import. And now you can see my inbox is way down here at the bottom, which I do not like. So you can come up here and try hitting that again, and it'll take the inbox to the top level. But during organization, sometimes folks are like, well, all my folders are all messed up. So what you want to do at the end is reorganize your files. What you can do is create like a folder here called old PST. Then you can just drag things down here and go ahead and say yes. So now you can quickly organize your data so it's not all in the top folders, but you can, name it so it's down here hiding in the bottom a little bit. And that's just kind of what, we teach in email organization tips and tricks. Is a lot of people also like to call it a Z, so it's down here at the end, but either way, I covered that in the first part of the video. So now at this point, I do have it sorted by inbox at the top, which is how I like it. I like things in my sub inbox up here to be my core folders. The rest down here is just old clutter from the PST. So what you can just do is just drag anything you want into another subfolder, and then they'll be nested within there and nicely organized for you. Then in time, as those get outdated, they will start moving to the online archive as the group policy for your mailbox allows. And that, folks, is how things get into the new Outlook. And now I'm going to show you how it looks in the new Outlook. So what we're going to do is now take our mouse and come over to try the new Outlook. And we're going to switch. So now I switched to the new Outlook. And you can see that all that mail that I had moved over through the classic desktop is now up here in the new Outlook, and you can view it all just fine. So that's kind of the long way of doing things manually, and it does take a lot of time, and that's why you got to just prepare and do it slow. And now in time, you are ready for the new Outlook, and then you can not worry about your data being local anymore. So this was a long video. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email me, lisa@callthatgirl.biz, or you can call me at 612-865-4475. I'm happy to help, and I have a part 3 coming with a few more little things I figured out about the new Outlook with iCloud and Outlook.com and a few other third-party apps and things like that. See you in the next video.